Good afternoon, FlossTube. My name is Laura, aka the Gin Stitcher, here on FlossTube and on Instagram. It is Sunday the 3rd of December. It's the middle of the afternoon. There is snow here in the north of England, which is... I looked out my window and went, nope. It's a hibernating day today. And then I thought, well, it's my birthday month. If I'm not going out, I could film. I haven't filmed in what feels like forever. And I apologise for being missing in action. My stitching mojo was missing entirely, so I didn't want to film if I didn't really have anything to show. I haven't been shopping a huge amount, and I'll explain why in a minute. Mainly because I haven't had a lot of money, but I have been saving up for something a bit bigger. So buying kits and charts and things was not really on the cards this year. Okay, so I thought because it's my birthday month we would have a WIP parade. It is a year since I did one. I'm going to hold my hands up now. There are some things I haven't changed in a year. Some things I have started this year that you haven't seen before. Some things that I have started a long time ago that weren't in last year's WIP parade. I'm also putting a disclaimer on this straight away because I know there's WIPs missing. I know there is, because the pile's not big enough. It just isn't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the non-stitching WIPs first, simply because that will be really quick, and then we'll move into the stitching. There is going to be zippers. I'm sorry. If I leave everything open, I mean, I live in chaos as it is. I couldn't handle more chaos. Okay, one thing I did buy this year. This is a yarn cake. It's 50% cotton, 50% acrylic, and you knit it up or crochet it up and it creates a fade. I've started with what I thought was a hexagon, but it's gone all wiggly, so I'm still trying to figure out what I've done wrong. I think I need a different hook size, even though I'm using well within what it suggests, which is 3 to 5. So I might go up a hook size and see if that tidies that up. And I'm going to try and make a circular shawl out of this. So that's my weedy start on that, but that's coming out because it's not right. Okay, number 2 is crochet again. There's shopping in this bag. Okay, and this is number 2. This is a blanket for my cousin. If I give you an idea of timeline, the baby was due on the 2nd of January next year. I am ahead of schedule. Unfortunately, the baby was ahead of me and has already arrived. So, in my defence, we actually are nearly done with this. It is half trebles, so it's really thick and dense for a winter baby. 2 different colours of yarn. A green variegated and a grey and blue variegated, because we didn't know what the baby was going to be, but in the end it was a good guess because it's turned out to be a boy. So what you've ended up with is green, grey, blue, yellow stripes intermixed with white. So that was horizontal lines, and then I've done a border in the same stitch. So I'm going to put a couple more rounds on, give it maybe another ½ an inch, and that'll be me done. And the way I've done it is, as I've gone up the verticals, I've just carried the yarn up each row, so I've only got about 4 ends to weave in, which is really good going for me. Because the last blanket I crocheted, which was for a colleague at work, and we did know she was having a boy, so I specifically picked out blues. And I used the ripple blanket pattern from Attic 24, but I made the mistake of not carrying my yarn. Oh dear Lord. I took it to Italy with us on the stitchy holiday to Italy, and they were all just laughing at me with how many ends I had to weave in for the whole week. Okay, what else have I done this year? I've learned how to knit. I'm not a knitter. So I'm going to show you my nearly finished first. Okay. The beginner in me made a scarf. It's not blocked, it's not washed. I need to finish it off. And it is, you know, the person who taught me how to knit said, don't worry, we'll teach you how to do lace. So it does need to be washed and blocked because when it's blocked, all that lace will be like that. And it'll be about twice the size. So that's acrylic because I was only learning, so I literally pulled some wool that I happened to have acquired from somewhere, charity shop or something, I suspect. And I just had to go, and people kept saying, how big is it going to be? And I'd pick up the ball and go, it's going to be that big. So there you go. Lace pattern interweaved with a bit of knit stitch, just for practice really. I think it was a 36 stitch cast on, and I just knitted till I ran out of yarn. My thoughts were, because it's not that long, I'm going to join it together and make a cowl. It's about the right length for that. So that's the plan, hence why it's not fully finished. It kind of got... I am absolutely terrible for getting to 99% done and then stopping. That baby blanket is a really good example. It's been like that for a month now, with just a couple of rounds to do. Okay, next one is I'd officially learned how to knit. I'm going to a wedding in February. A friend of mine is getting married, and I can't really justify buying another dress. And a lot of my dresses are for summer weddings. So I thought, why don't I make a shawl? That won't be too hard, will it? So I went to a yarn show and I bought 4 skeins actually. Don't ask me how much it were, because they were really expensive. From a company called Lottie Knits. And this is called Little Bird Sock Marl. And it's 80% merino, 20% nylon, and it is a sock yarn, so it's 4-ply. And I'm stitching it on 3.25mm circular needles, but I'm using the circulars as if they are straight needles. And this is where we're at so far. Now, you're actually knitting the bottom, so when it's finished, it goes that way up. Please ignore all my stitch markers. So that is where we're at so far. That is the ball, the remainder of ball number 1 anyway. So you can see it's purple and green and quite dark and quite wintry, and I quite liked it. Now, there's a few people seen this in real life. It wasn't as big when they last saw it. I'm trying to add a couple of rows every day. Otherwise it's not going to get done. So that's where we're at with that. To give you a bit of perspective, it's probably about as long as my hand to forearm now. So by my reckoning, it needs to double in length. And it is going to be blocked, so again, it will get bigger. For those that have seen this in real life, I'll give you the pattern. It's a row of knit, a row of purl, a row of 2 into 1 lace, a row of purl, a row of knit, a row of purl, and then technically it's a row of knit and a row of purl before you do another row of lace. What I've done on that extra row of knit and purl is beaded it. And yes, apparently that makes me certifiable. But it's okay. It's for a wedding, and I'm a cross stitcher at heart. And as you know from all my projects, I do chatelaines, I do bellas, I do mirrors. All of them have lots of bling on. Didn't seem right to knit without bling. So we knitted with bling. The beads are, as she jiggles, from Spellbound Beads in Birmingham, and they are a green, an emerald green, and a purple, and they're both a silver lined size 8 in the colourway RC632 and RC369, and I think I paid a grand total of £3 for the two tubs. Now I have bought 2 more tubs of each colour, because as you can see, we're halfway down each tub already, and each row is now taking 100 or more beads each time I do a row, so we're going to run out of beads fairly quickly now. So yeah, my shawl. What I will do after I get off this call is I'm going to stick a stitch marker in over here somewhere, so that we can see how far it's grown before I film again, because I promise in 2024 I will be better. This is in my Amalfi project bag from our girly trip to Italy in 2023. And it's just nice, it's just big enough to fit a ball of yarn and your knitting of the day. So that's my knitting. If anybody wants to know how I bead knitting, I will do a separate video, just say. Although I did get the instructions from YouTube, and I got 2 different types of instructions, and I knew which one I preferred after having a go at both. Okay, last bit before we get on to stitching. Spinning. You'll know from my previous videos that I have got into spinning yarn this year. It's very relaxing, it's very mindful, there's no counting. And considering my ability to count to 4 is sometimes quite challenged, it's quite nice to do something different. So you'll remember from my summer video that I bought a electric eel wheel, which is about this big, because I'd had to go on a regular treadle wheel and I could not get to grips with it at all. So since then I have spun some what I call beginner fluff. So this is my very, very first bobbin of yarn. It is in a completely undyed yarn, and it's not yarn you would wear close to your skin. You could easily turn this into socks, but you would make oversized socks that you wore over another pair of socks. It's undyed, but it is blended, so you've got whites and greys and blacks, and it's come out beautiful. It's come out like a winter sky. I have a bit more to do on that, which is why it's still on the bobbin. And then I shall apply it, probably back against itself to get a blend, and then I will knit it into something. Not got that far yet. So that was number 1. Me being me. Beginning out, bit rough, bit coarse, holds against each other. Number 2 was green. But you were all going to say blue, because blue is one of my blue and purple are my favourite colours. But green. Fell in love with this. It is loads of different shades of green, from emerald through to mint through to a very pale winter green. And it's from a company called the Threshing Barn here in the UK, and it is called Heavenly. And I got 100 grams of pure merino for £4. The only problem is you have to turn it into yarn yourself, which is fine, because I did. And that's how it's spun up. Now I have spun, I'm currently spinning what's called from the end. So you just pull off from the end as you're going along. The next technique I want to learn is spinning from the fold, which is where you fold it over your finger and you spin like that. And what happens then is you get thicker bands, you get a different texture of yarn, and you get thicker bands of each colour. So I've done 1 bobbin. I know it doesn't look completely full, but it had stopped drawing, so I was just like, yeah, we'll just change the bobbin, it's easier. And I started another bobbin. So it's currently off the wheel because I'm doing something different, but that's where we're at. And the rest of that will probably go on there. And then the plan is, I bought some black merino fluff at a D-stash, and I've got 300 grams of that. So the plan is to spin that and then apply that with the black, and I think it's going to look fab, because I think the black is really going to offset the green. What am I going to make with it? No idea, but it's 100% merino, so it's really soft, really fluffy, really, really comfortable to wear. Quite looking forward to that. On the topic of fluff, I treated myself. I haven't done any cross-stitch advents this year. You might remember last year I did about 4, spent the better part of £1,000, and whilst they were all lovely, I didn't have that kind of money to drop this year. So I got to October, I think, and I still didn't have an advent, and I decided I really wanted one. And I'd had a look at some fluff advents, and they were coming out about £200, which I thought was an awful lot. And I get that it's hand dyed, but it's not hand carded. It's not. They haven't taken this fleece straight off the sheep and done all the prepared work. They've bought what's called commercial roving. So all the prep work's been done, and you buy something that looks like that, and then you dye it. So it's hand dyed. I get that. And I found one, or more accurately, my friend Claire from Stitching Poppy tagged me in one. These people are out to bankrupt me. From Siobhan's Crafts, and it's here in the north of England, and I bought it, and that's upside down. Try that bit. And this is what came. And I paid £60, including shipping. And so far it's pink. You all know my love of pink, but in her defence, actually, it's been quite cute. So we're only on day 3. Day 1, I got a little bag and a plait of fluff. This is going to be quite a lot because it's quite densely put together. It's quite a lot though. Day 2 was an interesting blend of purples, very unicorny, but much loftier. And I am going to have to spin this one from the fold, otherwise it'll just go brown. So that's going to be an interesting learning curve. The idea with this is to keep up. Please note, day 3, I haven't spun any of it yet. And then the 3rd day, this, even though it's pink, I actually quite love it. Because it's like really pink. You know, if you're going to be pink, go pink. And it's sparkly and, you know, it's fab. I love it. Even though I don't like pink. So that's fab. Okay, so that's day 3 of the one I bought. Little did I know that my husband was plotting to get me a birthday present. My birthday's in December. He got me an advent for my birthday. Little did I know. Little did I know. My husband is not creative at birthday presents. Yeah. And I've accepted that and I've moved on with my life. I am very aware that he got a lot of help from a friend of ours putting this together. This is what came. When he found out that I'd bought that one, he was like, "Do you still want me to do the one I was?" Because he said I was going to get. I was like, "Why did you even tell me? Why don't you just do it? Actually, make it a surprise for once." So anyway, this arrived. I know there's 3 boxes back to front because that's the days I've already done. So day 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so I have started spinning this. So this was day 1. It's not the same colour as the bobbin, I promise. It's a very Frozen from Disney blue. It's spun up with flecks of white, and it's beautiful. And that's 100% merino, so that's beautiful. And considering that's supposed to be day 1 of a 24-day advent, there is a lot of fluff on that bobbin already. Day 2 was called Yorkshire Rainbow. It's 70% merino, 30% silk. And it is a rainbow. And I'm hoping, because that took me the better part of 2 hours to spin, there isn't quite as much here. And it's got all the different colours in. Again, I am going to have to spin this one from the fold, otherwise it's going to go brown. So you can see the stripes in it there. So that's day 2. Day 3 I opened up this morning. And it is also merino and silk. It's called Toot Sweet. And it is like a pinky burgundy colour. And again, it's got white. It's got silk in it, so it's got white in it. But that's lovely. And I'm going to just be able to spin that normally because it will come out fine. Okay. To somehow try and get this back in the tiny bag. Otherwise the cat will eat it. And that's really not a good thing because my cat's already sick. So another reason why we haven't spent a lot of money recently is because I've spent most of it at the vet. And there was a cocktail of controlled drugs in my kitchen because sadly he is now on palliative care. We could be on palliative care for a while, so don't be alarmed if you keep seeing him in videos because this could roll on for quite a long time. But we have acknowledged that there is there's no treatment for what he's been diagnosed with. So that is that in some ways. Okay, Advent. I might have upset my husband when I pointed out that he now has to live up to this after 10 years of marriage. I'm expecting the same next year. Right. Okay. Stitching. As I said, some of these things have not been touched in a year. I do not consider them to be UFOs simply because I will stitch on them at some point. So, first one is the one I'm stitching on at this precise moment in time. And that is my Haid Warm at Home by Irina Garmashova. Show you a quick picture. Oh, sorry. A bit bigger. There you go. So it's a towie cat on a window ledge in the snow. This is supposed to be a gift for a friend of mine. I haven't decided yet whether they're actually going to receive it. So I have been stitching this 32 count 2/1 tent stitch, and I am a total convert to this, by the way. I'm unashamedly converted. So it is on the Q-snap, so I'm, you know what, nothing's ironed. You know me, I don't iron. So that is where we are at the moment. So you can see there that some of the fur's coming out in the bottom, and up here, I just hold it on. Interestingly, it looks better from an angle at the moment. You can start to see the trees, because it's only really, it's all in shadow. It's supposed to be night, it's supposed to be dark, so you sort of see only the silhouette of the trees. But they're starting to come out now. So the plan is to get to the bottom of this diagonal here. I've basically only got 3799 and 310 to put in on that diagonal now, and then it's going away again for a bit, because I've put, even just in this sitting, I've put about 3,000 stitches in, with about another 1,200 to finish that diagonal. So I'll be done by then on that one. I know how my brain works. My problem is if I overdo it with something, if I stitch it till I'm fed up of it, I don't pick it up again for a year. And I'm trying to not do that. I'm trying to actually stitch on stuff and still put it away. Not while I'm loving it completely, but while I'm still enjoying it. So that I know that when I pick it up again, I'm going to still enjoy it. Okay. Next one I am actively working on at the moment is, I can't say it because it's Welsh, it's Blauweth the Owl. It's another Haid. You'll see from the mock-up that it's got decent blocks of colour in it. So it's quite useful for, I hate to say it, Zoom meetings where I don't have to have my camera on, and I don't have to make notes. I have to talk, but I don't have to make notes. So I can sort of stitch a row. Now I am doing this 1/1 full cross on 32 count. I started this one in February 2020, and it was supposed to be my leap year project that was finished by February 2024. Guess what? Not going to happen. So I started up here. I started in the top third. I had it on a set of bars, and I was doing extreme cross country in the top third, and I was basically colour completing as far as the bars. Then my laptop went, and I lost all my progress. So I didn't work on it for ages because quite frankly, couldn't be bothered to remark off all the stitches that I'd already done. And because I do extreme cross country, in some ways exporting my progress doesn't really make any difference, because I just get even more confused if I upload a half marked off chart. So I've restarted in the bottom. I haven't restarted, it's in the right place to match up with the rest of it. But I've gone down to the bottom corner and I'm stitching on the diagonal. And that's where I've got to so far. Diagonal number 1, done. Diagonal number 2, sort of. I think there's only one colour left in diagonal number 2, so it is literally a meeting fill-in job. It's a surprisingly big project. It is 201,600 stitches. So I didn't pick a small one for my leap year project. Come back in 2028. Might be done. I did some maths, and apparently I had to put something like 500 stitches in a day every day to be done by the next leap year. So my target for February 2028 is 50%. If I can have that half done, I'll be happy. Okay, right, that's the 2 I'm working on at the moment. After that, it's entirely potluck whether I've worked on it this year or not. So the next one is a new start from the Yorkshire Retreat in October, and it is a Janlin chart. It comes as a full kit. It's called Lighthouses. It's ancient. It is from 2002. This is an interesting kit because it's becoming more hard to find, but I kept seeing it in shops, and my husband kept going, "That's lovely, do you want to get that one?" And I'm sat there going, I own that kit. I own it. Have I seen it for years? No. Anyway, my sister was visiting in November, so of course we had to in my defence, that was an excuse to get rid of an awful lot of junk. And I found it, so I started it. Now, I had a grope of the floss it came with, which was here. It feels very polyester. The chart has the DMC numbers on it. So whilst I don't consider myself a snob in any way, I decided to rekit it in DMC. I also switched out the Ada for 32 count Opal because, you know, it's sparkly. Why not? And actually, although the picture doesn't look like it, there's a surprisingly large amount of unstitched white. All this is unstitched, and all along here, all the white here is all unstitched. So there's a surprising amount of background on show for what looks like a full coverage. That is my start. That is the full width of the pattern. And that bit there is the start of the first lighthouse. I haven't started stitching him yet. I'm going to finish the sky first. That's about 2 weeks work. I didn't do a huge amount on the retreat. I only put a couple of rows in and then went back to what I was doing that was easier to stitch on retreat because I didn't have to count. So that's where we're at. It's a great long piece of fabric. The chart says it's 23 inches tall, but that's on 14 count. So it is going to be slightly shorter than that and slightly narrower. I think it works out at something like 20 inches tall, but it's very tall. Apologies, I've absolutely no idea what that was. I don't think there's a ghost in this house. It's not old enough. So that's where we're at with that one. And again, very nice, very summery. Love it. Okay, next one is a Mill Hill. This is one that Zarina from Hawkins Hobbies kindly obtained for me. And it was completely inspired by Penny's Daughter Shares. And it's called Buttons and Beads Moonstruck. And it is a kitty cat on a full moon at Halloween. It's Halloween-y. And I got this out recently and I was like, if I just work on this for a week, it'll be done. Don't forget I work full time, so we're talking after work here. What did I do? I faffed about. But you know what? We are actually getting there. We are actually getting there. The cat is beaded all the way around him, but I need to finish all this white first. Otherwise I'm going to be trying to stitch behind beads, so that's going to annoy me. I am adding a border. I have these come with perforated paper, and I have switched it out for 32 count Opal. Just because I'd rather have it on fabric. I just prefer it. So, and you can see, I mean, look how blingy that is. There's a spider to go down here, so I've got some back stitch to go in here, and then basically the bottom half is more or less done. There's some beads on the roof to go in, and this here is all more of this magenta colour. And then we aren't a million miles off. The tree is about done. Cat just needs beading. His eyes are black on the chart, and I'm thinking of using these green beads for his eyes, or possibly these orange beads, just to sort of make them glow a bit, but I'm just thinking about that. So seriously, that could be finished by the next time you see me, which is good because I've been working on it for a year. So something that should have taken a week has taken a year. So that is a 2024 finish, definitely. Okay, next one is one you haven't seen before. I started this last Christmas. It is from Silver Creek Samplers. It's called Follow Your Heart, and it says follow your heart but take your stitching with you. So that is what it's going to look like. I think I have shown you this before, but I started it last Christmas. I haven't worked on it for a while because half the chart's vanished. Nobody ever said I was organised. If I find it in the middle of this WIP parade, I'm going to be overjoyed because I genuinely don't know where it's gone. So I am stitching this on a piece of fabric from Jodrey Designs in the colourway. It's in here somewhere. Chinese Fighting Fish. It is a 32 count Belfast linen. So it's not Opal, it's just linen, regular linen, and I have completely changed out the colours. I haven't done anything on this, I think, since you last saw it. And I have switched it out entirely for Silks for You. It only calls for 4 colours anyway. And those are the 4 colours that I have chosen. So they are different to the called for. The called for was a week's dye works in a very dark brown, and I was just like, nope, not bothered by that. I think I've got it in here. No, that's the silk. Oh, it's just, that's the weeks. So it's not a million miles different, but it is slightly different. So yeah, Chinese fighting fish and silks for you. If you're interested, they are 121, 185, 36 and 119, and they all came together in a fabric silk of the month in 2022. So that is that one. It's another one that if I sat down and worked on it for a week, I could get it done. Put the half of the chart in it that I do have, so I don't lose that as well. I genuinely have no idea where the other half's gone, to the point that I may just buy it again, because that would be easier. Okay, next one is one that I really just need to get finished. It is Mirabilia Miss New Year's Eve Fairy. It's the limited edition Nora Corbett, and she looks like that on the chart. Talked about this before. The silks that came bore no resemblance to the chart, to the picture, so I changed them out completely, and that is what she looks like. So she has no head. Her dress is fully beaded now. I think there's a random thread there, so there must be a few beads left to go in somewhere. Her wings are nearly done, and then I have to do her hair and then bead her. She's got a headdress, and then I need to put the clock in. The only thing on there in its entirety that's the original colour is the clock. The shoes and the wings actually haven't changed. On the other half of this piece of fabric, I'm going to put Miss Christmas Eve, the Miss Christmas Eve Fairy, and I have obtained her at the Yorkshire Retreat. So again, I always said I was probably going to change out the colours. So the thoughts were to keep the wings white for her and change her dress from red to green, because I think that will go better with the fabric. So the fabric for this one is also a Georgia Designs. It came out of the Christmas Advent. It's called Urania. And there's some floss there that was also part of the Advent. So, and I've used things like Silken Colours, Silks for You, Delicas instead of Mill Hills, purple Delicas there, that sort of thing. Just basically completely redone it, and I love it. I think she's gorgeous. She'll be better with a face. I'll accept that. She'll be better when she's got a face. I really need to put the charts in, otherwise we're going to have a drama. So next time you see that one, again, I'm hoping she'll be more or less done. I'm actually hoping I might have started the other one. But I need to do a rampage through all my floss and decide what colour she's going to be. Okay, this one I definitely haven't touched this year. It is a Dimensions. The chart's not even in here. It's called Too Pooped. It's a kitten, a tabby kitten on a branch having a nap because he's knackered, and that is literally it. I haven't touched it at all. It's a sparkly fabric. I'm fairly sure I only need half the fabric, and that's why I've started in this corner. So it's a sparkly fabric. No idea on the colourway, it's not in the bag. I think it might be Winter Skies or Snowy Skies. That's probably about right. And it's even weave, a 32 count even weave. That I do know because I get fabric. That was my fabric at the month for quite a long time. Okay, where are we up to? Next one is another new start for this year. Again, I'm fairly sure you might not have seen this one. Husband got me this for Christmas last year, and it is called Beach Huts from the By the Sea range by Karen Carter from Heritage Crafts, and that's what it looks like. And it's on a tiny 6-inch hoop, so forgive me because I've stuck it back in the box in the hoop. I think I was going to carry on working on it, and then I forgot. Got distracted. Either is equally likely in my world. I just whip it off the hoop. Now I've stitched this on the fabric that came with the kit and used the DMC that it came with. So it's 28 count even weave, and that is where we're at so far. And actually, again, surprisingly far through it, considering I haven't had much stitching mojo this year. This hut just needs a bit more backstitch down here. This hut, this was the one I was working on last, and then the stripes on the pink and white stripes on that one, and then I've got some more sky to put in up here. It is completely full coverage, but the sky over here is completely done. So this sort of corner here is completely done, including all the backstitch. So yeah, we're getting there. The thing with these is they do have quite a lot of backstitch on them, so I find myself living in a world where if I don't backstitch as I go along, it just doesn't get done, and then I end up showing you something you go over and over again. So it just needs backstitching. Somebody wants to do my backstitching for me? Cause it's not because I hate doing it. It's like, it's done. Why do I have to do more work on it? I've done all the stitching. So that's that one. Okay, where are we up to? I have no idea. Just put these back on my Q-snap, otherwise, again, they will just wander off into the ether. I think they're a bit like Tupperware lids and Tupperware boxes. They come back in as a different form. Okay, right. Next one along is... Oh yes, I haven't worked on this one. I know I haven't worked on this one. This is Christmas in London from Mirabilia, and I've put the chart somewhere safe. I think they were getting damaged in the project bags, so I've got my working copy and that's it, and that is it. I'm sorry. Very weedy start. What I will say is when I was at the Mirabilia retreat in April, I did buy a lot of the DMC for this. I already had the bead pack, so I can crack on with this. I just haven't. So 32 count white opal even weave, because it's a very busy chart. It's got a lot of background as well as the lady, so I didn't want to complicate matters even further with a dyed fabric as well. I think it would have just been too busy. Okay, another full coverage for you. Should really have done these in some semblance of order, but as the line goes, the husband is away, the girls will play. He is out doing Christmassy things today, so I decided I was going to film, and I figured this was going to be my one and only opportunity. Okay, next one is Patronus. It's a cropped design. The bottom sort of quarter is chopped off because I didn't feel the need. It was just more background. So it's been chopped. So it's just the stag. It's probably one of my favourite designs that I've got going on at the moment. 32 count, 1/1 full cross. Nope. Different one. It's actually that one. I give up. There's even a label on it, and I didn't read the label. Okay, so this is called Lighthouse and Storm and the Lighthouse in blue. It is from Artisy, and as you can see, it is a lighthouse with a big wave crashing behind it. So I did start this a couple of years ago, and I was stitching it 2/2 on 40 count linen. I took it to Canada with me in 2021. Really cracked on with it, got to like 10% done, only to find I'd missed an entire row out somewhere, and to fix it I was going to have to frog about 5,000 stitches, so I went, sod that, and restarted it. So we're stitching at 2/110 on 32 count, and that's how far I've got so far. Don't ask me what percentage that is. It's probably about 2%, because it's only about 70,000 stitches. This one, shall we have a look? Yeah, 2.2%. There you go. There's some 3865 up here, so I came to a bit of a halt because I didn't have any. So I've now got that, so I can pick this back up again and crack on a little bit. It's relatively easy. It doesn't have huge amounts of confetti, which was one of the reasons why I was so confused. I made such a spectacular mistake. Okay. Next one is another Heritage Crafts. There's half a dozen things in here, so just bear with me while I find the actual WIP. It is this one. It is called Silhouettes, from the Silhouettes series, and it is Guiding Light. So that's what it looks like when it's done. It's all sepia tones. And this is where we are at so far. So the lighthouse goes here. This is the sea and the sky, basically. So 32 count opal, again it's full coverage, so it doesn't really matter. I'm stitching it with the Call 4 DMC on that one. It's only going to be about 5 inches square when it's done. But there's a bunch of other stuff in there, including a mirabilia, which I haven't started yet, so I'm not getting them out. Okay, next one is Magic Study from Heaven and Earth Designs. You'll be really, really excited by this one because I've barely started it. So this is the original version from when it was a limited edition, and it will look like that when it's finished. It is enormous. It is 416,250 stitches, and I'm sure those last 250 are going to make all the difference. I think that's a half. I think there's a full half a yard here. Now don't get me wrong, I've got plenty of margin, but there's a full half a yard there, and that is my very puny start. It is 32 count, it is 1/1 full cross. I haven't decided yet whether I'm going to just go to 10. I may switch this over to 10. If I want to have any chance of ever finishing this, it's probably going to have to switch over. Because my stash has reached sable. We're definitely already there, and I'm definitely already still shopping. I'm so far away from giving up shopping that it is not even funny. Okay. This one is green. Not quite sure which one this one is. Let's have a quick look. A lot of green thread on it. Oh, right, yes, okay. I'm just slightly alarmed for a second. I'm just making sure my piece of fabric is actually big enough. Okay, this is another Haid. It is called the Phoenix. That is what it is going to look like. All you can see is the laptop. There we go, that's better. So that is the Phoenix. It does have 87 colours, believe it or not. But a lot of them are black. And that is where we are at so far. So I have done a little bit of colour completing up here to get rid of some of the colours that only had like 5 stitches. We are at 5.8% on this one, mostly black. So that's where we're at. Believe it or not, there is some 3371 down here. You can't tell. I get that. I'm completely with you on that one. So that is 32 count 2/110 again, and I take this on retreat. So this goes on retreat. I shove it in a Q-snap and I just go backwards and forwards with black stitch because it's easy and I can natter at the same time. So that's a good retreat stitch. Okay, right. This pile's not getting any smaller, by the way. Okay, this one is called Once Upon a Time. This is another full coverage. I seem to be full coverage. These are the ones I found today. Okay. So this is Heaven and Earth Designs, and it's a quick stitch. Quick stitch, yeah. It's a section of another big chart, and that is what it looks like. And it says, "Once upon a time, in a kingdom filled with enchanted books, there was a girl who loved to read." And I was like, that is me. That is me. So it is a book. I'm not stitching this brown at the top here, so I've chopped that bit off. But it doesn't, because that's basically part of the shelf from the main chart. So I didn't see a point of stitching that. So the top will be the blue part. This is another one that I absolutely love it. It's 32 count 1/1 full cross. You can tell from the needle minder when I last worked on this. It's another one that fell foul of losing my progress when my laptop died. So again, that is the bottom down here. So I've got masses and masses of spare fabric. So it's not very big. I think it's only about 70,000 stitches. Let's have a quick check. Oh, 85,000 stitches, but it is max colour. And I was colour completing because there were so many stitches. I mean, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13 colours left still that have less than 10 stitches. Now I know people who just refuse to stitch it like that, but I bought it max colour, so I'm stitching it max colour. That is floss card number 1. That is floss card number 2. That is the ones that need full skeins. You get the gist. So it's another one that I will continue to stitch at full cost because I've done enough to justify that. But I will go to working on the diagonal and just cover off the stitches I've already done as I come to them. I think that's probably the safest way of doing it. And I think looking at that and looking at the way it's mocked up on here, I have worked on that since I lost all the progress on my laptop. Okay, we've got one in here that I started in March. 2 in fact. They're both ornament tassels and they look like that and like that when they're done. So Mill Hill beaded tassels. Now my understanding is that you can't get these anymore. So of course when I came across a shop that had them and had all 6, I bought all 6. You know, that's what you do. I wonder I can't find any beading needles that were on here. So I am stitching these on the called for perforated paper because you fold them into a 3D shape afterwards, so it won't work with fabric. So I have a green one and that is pretty much all stitched. The rest of that is now beads. And then this one I have, again, done most of the stitching. There's 2 different colours of stitching on this one. There's some blue which goes all the way across, and then I have started beading it down here. And I think I lost the will to live. That's why it's got that far and not any further. Are they quick stitches? No, they are not. For something that's about 2 inches tall. But they will get done. There is a huge pile of beads in this bag, and you know what? It will get done. I think I'm finding it hard because it's not in a frame, so I'm essentially stitching in hand, and that's not my comfort zone. Okay, we might be getting into fancy ladies. I'm going to have a shuffle in a minute because there's stuff over there that I can't reach. Okay, next one is a mermaid. Again, I've put the Mirabilia chart somewhere safe because they get damaged. So this is, I want to say Enchanted Mermaid. But you know when you can't remember? And you're having to have a look at the chart. To figure it out. And I've got about 3 working copies, so I'm going to have to rummage through them all. Mermaid Undyne. That's what she's called. And I have all the beads and all the DMCs, she says as she throws them across the floor, and all the water lilies. So she is fully kitted. So much bling. Her entire tail is just bling, basically. I'm a bit notorious for starting these mirrors when I don't have everything I need. And if I remember correctly, she is that way up. So that is hair. A lot of hair. So I stitched an awful lot of brown that weekend when I stitched on her, and this is just the beginnings of her skin coming in here, and the tail kind of goes over the top, so the tip of her tail is actually right next to her hair, which is why she looks to be in a bit of an odd position on the fabric. This is a piece of fabric from Coffee Crafts Fabric. It's not serged, that's a trademark of hers. I don't get her fabric of the month anymore. Not by intention or design, she just stopped sending me invoices, and I was like, okay, fair enough. The problem with hers, the fabric is lovely, and she did recently start doing linen, which is always a bonus. But you could only choose whether you wanted Ada or linen, and you got all sorts of different counts, because she basically, instead of trying to cater to everybody's desires, she went, well, this is what I've got, so this is what you get. So sometimes you ended up with random things that we're never going to use, not just because of the colour, but because of the count as well. Okay. The next bag is Poison Garden. There's a lot of stuff in this bag, but it's over here. Because once it's straight on the bars, it doesn't come off. Hopefully the needle minders help me to know which way up is the right way. Okay. Here we go. So there we are with Poison Garden. I haven't really progressed on this since the summer. It is very much a summer stitch because the fabric is so dark. It's called Supernova. From Sparkly's. It's a linen, it's an even weave, so it's not as black as it is. If you get this on linen, it's very, very, very dark. So that is the centre. All of that is filled in. I haven't got that far yet. Sort of what I'm trying to do is create all the borders and the boundaries, so I know where everything is in space, and I'm going all the way to the top, and then I'm going to work my way back down. And I will bead as I go. The idea being then that all I have to do in hand is put the crystals on, because I can't do those with the bars, they're too big. I do have the full kit for that. I got that from Hawkins Hobbies. Don't have a picture of it, but everybody knows what Poison Garden looks like nowadays. Okay, may as well do another chatelaine whilst we are here. The famous one on the black fabric. Everybody goes, oh my god, you're stitching on black linen. Yes, I am stitching on black linen, and you know what? I'm not regretting a single second of it. Now the bars are 36 inches long, so please forgive me if you're not going to get it all in one shot. If and when these are ever actually finished, I will do special videos to show you what they look like close up. So this is where we are. So there is number one here. Number two goes over here and isn't started yet. Then there is the centre motif, which basically I've just got to put this actual back stitch in the centre and decide what I'm going to put in the centre. And then we have the bottom two, and the bottom two are the ones I stitched on for 100 Days of Chatelaine in 2023, so therefore they've actually really cracked on quite a lot. This is gold one, this is the red one, and then up here we have the teal and purple. So interestingly, they all have the same basic layout, different colour schemes, and I don't regret doing them all on the same piece of fabric. But as you can see, the fabric is very thin, and I do only work on this in the summer, so you won't see this again now till next summer. And that's fine, because that's the way we stitch chatelaines. 2 chatelaines down, 2 to go. I will say I did take that to Italy. That particular chatelaine has been to France, it's been to Italy. There'll be no beading on that for a long time, because I need to be able to keep shoving it on a Q-snap to take it abroad. Because that's the one, that is the one that travels. That is called the Gothic Ornaments. There's been a bit of a craze for stitching the teal one in particularly recently. I've seen a few people finish that one, and they are stunning. But they are, I'm really looking forward to seeing it finished on the black. I think they're really going to sing. I am not going to deny that at first I was concerned that it wasn't going to work, but it seems to be working. This is just a kit, so you're not seeing that one. That is just a pile of charts for the Nutcracker Village. some of these might just be, we might be nearly done. She says there's some more there. I don't really have a system. I think that's part of my problem. I think because I get distracted and I get bored and I get fed up of stitching on the same colour palette and things like that, that I just get fed up and I just shove things in cupboards and corners and don't really put them away properly and stuff like that. Okay, next one is Pandemic from Long Dog Samplers. Everybody knows what this one looks like. This is a piece of fabric from Pole Stitches. It's called Sea to Sky, or no, it's called Oceanus. It is a 28 count even weave, and because I'm an idiot and completely insane, I am stitching it 1/1. I did not want a blanket. It's big enough as it is. It still needs a full fat quarter, and that's where we're at so far. This again is a travelling project. Because it's so small, ignore all the loose threads, they're all basically finished threads. Because it's such a small count, because I can stick it in a 6-inch Q-snap and I can take it on an aeroplane. It's one colour. I literally have a thing of floss. I take enough that I think is going to last me for a week, because that's come off a cone of DMC 310. Take enough to last me for the week, and then shove it on a 6-inch Q-snap. I've got the chart on my phone version of my pattern keeper, so I don't even need the laptop. I can just plod along. Now the plan is to put some of the animals in colour. So the whole thing's stitched in 310 so far, and what I'm going to do is put details in a green and a blue at the bottom, so they will be just slightly darker than the actual fabric. Not sure how that's going to work, but we are going to try it, and that is basically the edge. The only reason I haven't come down here is because I want to make sure it's right before I turn the corner. So that's where we're at on that one. We are just gently progressing. But this does tend to be my holiday stitch. I tend to take this one away because it's compact. Okay, next one is a Bella Filipina. It's called Autumn Equinox Pixie. To be perfectly honest, I haven't seen that many people finish this one. It is a 2020 chart, so it's been out a little while now. And I am stitching this on a piece of fabric called, I want to say Rainforest. Rainbow. I keep calling it Rainforest. It's called Rainbow. So it's loud. A few people that have seen this in real life are just like, wow. It is red at the bottom and dark blue at the top. It was an experimental piece done by Kate Sparkley's. I absolutely love it. It's linen, so it's very bouncy, but it's taken the dark very well. And we have started down here. This is her waistline. So this is the start of her bodice, this is the top of her skirt, and then down here this is basically the bottom of the skirt and some of the branch that she stood on coming out there. So it's a lot of stitching. That took me 2 days. That bit there. And realising I was missing a colour, because let's face it, you're always missing a bloody colour. So that's where we're at with that one. Again, I haven't picked that one up for a couple of months. I tend to pick it up and stitch on it for a couple of weeks and then put it away. And then I'm like, I want to stitch on something on Pattern Keeper. Because I'm fed up of following a paper chart and having to colour it in. Yes, I know there's a markup XP. I got it. I didn't get on with it at all. Okay, next one is Haid again. It's called A Stitch in Time. It's basically the one that's their front cover page on their website, and has the logo in the centre. And I'm on about version 3 of this. Again, it is like a bed sheet. It's enormous. This is not 25 count. It's not 32 count. I think it's 28. This was the first time I ever bought gridded fabric, and I got very confused. That's where we're at so far. This is the top corner up here. again, we are 32 count, well, whatever the count is, I think it's 28, 1 over 1 full cross. Again, I'm like at 0.0001%, so I am having a debate with myself as to whether to go to 10 stitch on it to have a fighting chance of ever finishing it. All respect to people who can finish a Haid this big in full cross. All respect, because I just don't think it's in my lifetime. I just don't think it's within my abilities. I've got one under the frame. This is one I know you haven't seen because I only started this in April, and when I did my last video it had vanished. I couldn't find it. So this is Siren in the Shipwreck, and I am stitching it on a piece of fabric from, I want to say Jodrey, but I've put the label away. I don't know what I've done with it. Feels like a Jodrey fabric to me, even though it's not pink. And that is where we are at. So no, that's the back. That's a good start. That is where we are at so far. That is her. That is the center of the bottom of her tail. So she's just going to go up from there. So this is a very dark, the camera is kind of washing it out, but it's quite a dark green. It's got lots of very dark splotches. So my thoughts are now I have this fully kitted, including all the beads. However, I am thinking of changing. I'm going to stitch her as called for. So the DMC is not going to change. If there's any water lilies in, I can't remember. I'm going to have to think about that and decide whether they work or not. The beads, I am thinking about changing them out. They're quite floral. They're not in here, by the way, because I don't think I took them to the retreat because I knew I wasn't going to do anything with them, so I didn't see any point. I was thinking of changing them out for something darker and making her in general more spooky. We're about 10 years away from that, people. My lovely, lovely peoples. So I'm not even going to... It's going to be a work in progress as we go along and see what she looks like. Okie dokie. Another Chatan. I promise you there's only 2 more. This is Indian Summer Reflections. I am stitching this on a mystery piece of fabric from Sparkly's scrap bin. You get half a yard in the scrap bin sometimes. So it is a mist dye, but it's a very light colour. And that is where I am at so far. I had all this stitched and then realised I'd cocked up. So it all got ripped out, and it's a DMC pearl, so I was like, this is horrible, horrible to rip out. So I gave it to my friend and she ripped it out for me. So thank you, I love you. This is all Gloriana along here. These are all MPI silks. And this is Gloriana down here as well. When I'm stitching with Glorianas, I tend to be quite fussy with my stitching. So when I get to an end of a piece of thread, I'll try and match the start, the colour at the start, so you don't get a jarring line. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I try and keep the flow going of the colours as I'm going along. There is a few beads on here. I sort of made a decision that I was going to try and bead this one as I went along. So there is a few beads in here. No, none of the crystals yet. There's sort of a crystal goes in here and a crystal at the top of here. So again, they will go on last and everything will just be done in hand. So this is a glass house when it's finished. There's a lot of greenery to go in here. But again, I'm trying to get some form to it and then go back and fill it in. So that is a piece of, that is linen. And I'm fairly sure it's a 28 count. Kate told me it was a 32, but it's coming out a lot bigger than it should have done, so I'm fairly sure it's a 28 count. Especially when I compare it to Poison Garden, which is definitely a 32, because it was a custom piece that I ordered. So, and that's tight. The beads are tight on that. Okay, we're getting somewhere. Good job, because we've just gone over the hour. So my niece's advent calendar is next. I've lost all motivation with this, which is really disheartening because I really just need to get on with it. So there's the 2 that I finished. They need to be cut out, and I've got them. I have progressed somewhat. I've bought the bags they're going to be stitched onto because I'm going to be lazy and I'm not going to make the bags. That is the next one. That's Baubles. These are Jareen Jones, and they are a faff. They are so much work. Every single one of them is so much work. It is unbelievable. That I am somewhat regretting it. Santa is done. 24. 23 is done. Snowflakes. Started 22, which I think is an elf. So we are slowly progressing. Is it done for this year? No. No, she turns 2 this year, so this Christmas, so I've got another year, but then I think I really do have to have it done for next year. My sister's admitted that she's working on Sprog Mark II, so I'm thinking of making it a joint one, because Willow's grandma has actually bought her a shop bought advent calendar. So I'm thinking of making this one so that the 2 children can share it. Okay, next one is an anchor chart called Evening Star. My husband is a train nut. This is my oldest WIP by quite some margin, because this is the kit I bought when I got back into stitching, and unfortunately it keeps coming up on my Facebook memories. So a part of me is like, I really need to get on with this. I really need to pick it up and do some more work on it. I am stitching this 2/2 with the called for anchor threads on 40 count linen. So it is smaller than than it would be in real life. This section here is basically done. This section here is basically done. This section here is done. Just got to do the middle. And I don't think I've picked this up since COVID. And I don't know why, because it is a gorgeous image. It's fab. I love it, and I just don't know why I haven't picked it up. I think there was a mistake, and I was trying to fudge it, but I can't remember. So I just need to get on with it, really. It's got the tiniest weird random bits of backstitch in it, but that's fine. I can deal with that. Yeah, that's on 40 count linen, but I'm stitching it over 2, so really it's 20 count. So that might be January. I might get that one out in January. Christmas out in January. I might refresh myself with it. Okay, next one is Bella. Bella Filipina, Bellatrix. Again, she came out right at the start of the COVID lockdowns in early 2020. So everybody wanted her, everybody bought her, and there was about 20 or 30 of us decided to start it. I'll call it a start along because some people have put 10 stitches in it and never done another stitch. There she is. I am stitching her on a piece of fabric from Pulse Stitches called Fantasy. It's 28 count opal linen. And I have actually progressed on this year. This is probably the one that's progressed the most. So what have I done this year? I've done all of this drapery up here. I have finished all of this, including the Krynic, and there is a lot of Krynic in there. It does still need beading, but that is definitely a future me problem. And then I've made a bit more of a dent in the book stand, and then I have started some of the drapery down the bottom. Can't remember if I showed you me finishing this bit, but the border goes all the way around. And I have done some of the Krynic in the corners, although not all of it. And some of the backstitch in some of the corners. That one is now backstitched. Give you an idea what it's going to look like. So, yeah, she is. No face still. She does have some hair and the dress. And I've joined these two together to make sure that everything is actually in the right place. And I'm not going to have to fudge the dress. But yeah, I was quite proud of myself when I finished all this, because that is a lot of Krynic. There is random spaces on the chart where what I think is stonework has a stitch over here but not over here, and I was like, you know what, I think this is supposed to be symmetrical, so I'm going to put the stitch in. Is it an errata? Don't know. Don't really care. I like it like that. So I've done it. So that is where she is at. The only thing I've changed so far is one of the beads. I have changed out for a Delica gold, and I don't know what I've done with it. It's worrying because it was a very expensive bead. $3.95 for 2.5 grams, which felt like a lot. It felt very, very indulgent at the time. But I do like Delicas. They are. Right, now we've found Patronus. I promise you this time this is the stag. So again, I am technically colour completing on this one. 60 colours. It is an artistry chart. Basically every shade of blue in the DMC catalogue and a couple of greens. And then when I go on retreat, I go down here and I stitch the 939 and the 823, which is basically the entirety of the background, because again, it doesn't require a lot of thought and a lot of effort. So that is where we are at with him. That is where his face is going to be. And he's coming along. When did I start this? I started this in January 2022, or just before. And I took it on retreat in Southampton, and I literally had like this bit done at the bottom here. 1/1 full cross stitch, 2 count. And it, when you stroke your fingers across it, it literally feels like velvet. So this is probably my favourite piece at the moment. It's certainly the one that comes out the most often. And we're heading towards 20% done on that one. So although it's more work because it's full cross, it is definitely the one that draws me back every time. 1 to go. It's behind you. On the giant bars. And this one is in the naughty corner at the moment. I took it on the Chatan retreat in July and I stitched the same thing 4 times, and then I nearly set fire to the whole thing because I really was sick to death of it. It is still on the world's most enormous bars, and it needs to be. It's going to have to be at that angle, I'm sorry. So I was stitching all of this at the retreat. This is all black MPI, and I was trying to basically get the outline in all the way around. Over here, this bit got done no less than 4 times, and I just gave up. The centre is actually done. You've seen this many times. There's some gaps here. This is where the Swarovskis are going to go, and they will go on at the end. Yes, this is a big piece of fabric. It is technically my favourite piece. It's also by some margin, and by some margin I mean like £300, my most expensive kit. It is entirely silk. It calls for 57 MPIs at $5 a skein. And I decided that if I was going to spend a lifetime stitching something, I just wanted to stitch it all in the silks. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to get another skein of MPI black because I think I've pulled bits out so many times I don't have enough left. So that's just got to wait for next time I do a 1, 2, 3 stitch order. And that is everything, believe it or not. It's not everything. It's definitely not everything, because there's things I know that I'm working on that I haven't shown you. There's a Dimensions called Midnight Dancers. I'm not quite sure where that's gone. And a couple of others that I know I've missed. But hey ho, they'll appear at some point. One day I will tidy my craft room. We could find all sorts of stuff. Money, silk, fabric, entire kits that I've forgotten I own. Quite possible. I did take delivery of 2 more full Chatan kits. They're over there. I can't remember which ones I actually took. I think one was not hummingbird lace. The other one, the dragonfly lace, and I've got a feeling that the second one was Herbalarius. I'm nowhere near ready to start them yet. I haven't got fabric for them. I haven't even thought about it. I've just taken delivery of the kits. I will show you those next time. I also got the Christmas Eve Fairy. I'll show you her when I've decided what I'm swapping out, what I'm changing colour wise. And then what else have I had? Oh, and I bought Lady of Mystery. We're starting her at Claire's 40th retreat in January. She's having a retreat for a little birthday, which I thought was very, very, very lovely. I was like, yeah, I can't do that for mine. But I'll come to yours. So we all start, there's a couple of us starting that for that. I just need to get some fabric out for her. I also need to decide if I'm going to change her dress from magenta. I'm leaning towards a purple. But I'm not sure. I've seen the blue conversion on Instagram or Pinterest, and it's gorgeous, and I'm thinking of doing something similar but with purples. So watch this space on that one. And I think that is me. Am I going to see you again before Christmas? I make no promises. Every time I think I'm getting on track again, somebody brings more germs to the house and I end up ill for a week again. So I'm going to make no promises on that one. So if I don't see you again, have a beautiful Christmas, have a lovely New Year, be as happy as you can, and remember, if you ever need to talk to somebody, I am here. Thank you.